Welcome to the Language Line Assistance webinar for Greensville County Public Schools. Language Line is a professional interpreting service that Greensville County Public Schools will utilize to assist us in communicating with our families with limited English. This service will allow us to effectively communicate during parent-teacher conferences, during registration, enrollment, and other situations where our parents need to communicate with us. So let's jump right into it. How do we use Language Line? The first thing we need to determine is what is the language that is needed. If you are able to identify the language yourself by just listening to the family, then you will merely tell the interpreter what language is needed. If you are not able to easily identify the language, you can use the What Do You Speak language sheet. This will allow the parent to point out which language they would like to communicate with us in. If you are not familiar with the language and you are not able to pronunciate what the language is, it may be useful to Google so that when you are telling the interpreter what the language is, they are clear what language we are requesting assistance in. If at all possible, it would be helpful to find out in advance of the meeting which language the parent would like to be spoken to in. So to access an interpreter, we are going to dial the 1-800 number that you see on the screen. You will provide your client ID, and then you will indicate the language in which you are requesting an interpreter for. At that time, you want to document the interpreter name and the ID number. If there are any special instructions that you have around the meeting or the purpose of the request for the interpreter, you want to provide that information at that time. And you will be provided with a client ID. Again, it will be included in the reference guide that you are given. So, as we utilize Language Line, there are just a few useful tips that we want to remember. First of all, we do want to give the interpreter information around the nature of the call. So, in the event that the interpreter is not sure exactly what we are trying to communicate to them, if they have a better understanding of the nature of the call, it can guide how they translate what they're translating. Explain to the family the role of the interpreter, just so they know that they're not there listening in on the meeting or listening in on the conversation, that they are merely there to ensure that we are able to understand one another. Speak directly to our parent. Do not speak to the interpreter. For example, do not say to the interpreter, please tell the family that I would like to say whatever it is you want to say. We should speak directly to our family or our parent. Because the interpreter is trying to listen to both sides, it is very important that we do not speak while someone else is speaking. We want to also pause at the end of each complete thought. So 2 or 3 sentences will give the interpreter the opportunity to figure out what it is that needs to be translated back and then translate that back. And then it is important that we avoid slang terms or acronyms, because the interpreter may not be familiar. So, and we want to avoid jokes because they may not be interpreted the way we intend them to be interpreted. So some of us may be super fast speakers. We want to monitor our rate of speech to give the interpreter an opportunity to catch every single word that we are actually saying. So we want to be mindful of how fast we are speaking. And if you feel that the interpreter has made a mistake in what they've actually interpreted back to the family, do not tell the interpreter they made a mistake. Simply rephrase your question or your statement so that the interpreter can clearly articulate the point that you are trying to get across. And then as you are going through this meeting, make sure that you're checking for understanding with the parent to make sure that what's being interpreted is being clearly understood by the parent. So we need to be patient in this process with both the parent and the translator. It's no different than if we went to a foreign country and we did not understand a word. We would want whomever was assisting us or whomever we were trying to get our point across to be patient with us. So we need to be patient with our translator and our parent. Be mindful that the interpreter, as you say it, they are going to interpret it, everything that you say. So if you are getting frustrated some in the meeting, it is going to come across like that through the interpreter. So we want to be very mindful of what we're saying as we're speaking. Also, the interpreter may not completely understand what you are wanting them to communicate to the parent, and they may ask for clarification of certain terms or phrases that you have used. So again, that goes back to our patience. Please be patient. So in closing, you will be provided with a language line quick reference guide. It will be sent to you via email. If you have any questions, there is my contact information. As we are using Language Line, we will need to track every call that is made. And I'd like to share with you the Google form that we are using to track this information. So this is our Language Line usage form. It will require your first and last name, your position, the school location for your call, the start time of the call, the end time of the call, the purpose of the call, the interpreter name, and the interpreter reference number. This must be completed. It is required. It is not negotiable. Must be completed after each call that is made using Language Line. So what's next for us? Just ensuring that all of our customers are understanding what we are attempting to communicate, which will make it a great learning environment for our students when our parents understand what it is that we are trying to communicate, when we are able to easily help them to register, when we are holding parent conferences. So this will be a very useful tool for all of us. I ask that you please complete the participation survey. I ask that you do that within 24 hours of viewing this webinar. The participation survey is linked here on this slide, and I want to say thank you for your time today. And again, if you have any questions, my email is on a slide within the slide deck, and this slide deck will be shared with you separate from the webinar. Thank you so much and have a great day.